Shut up. Guns.
We're getting silly. We are getting silly here, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome you to the second half of our UFC 256 post-fight coverage. This is a live post-fight show following one of the best events, definitely the best event of 2020. Unbelievable from start to finish. And there's a lot to talk about with all of you. And let me just say that normally we have like kind of a format, like we just kind of wing it for the most part. Normally we talk about the main event and the co-main event and all the storylines, but we're not going to do that. We're going to leave that all to you. As thank you for joining us at 2:41 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys are animals. We appreciate that very much. I am Mike Heck, joined by the Prince of Positivity himself, Alex K. Lee. Welcome, sir. And E. Casey Leydon, joining from the other side as well. So, AK, we're going to start with you before we go right to the questions. Your thoughts on this event overall, because I thought it lived up to the expectations and then some. What say you?
MMA is supposed to be fun, and man, this was a fun card tonight. Just the fights were great. The finishes, storyline wise, I don't know if the UFC could have asked for anything better. Maybe a definitive winner in the main event, but otherwise, they kind of got themselves a sweet rematch served up on a platter. So that's good too. Like really, there was no way it could go wrong. If Figueiredo won, he completes this like fighter of the year campaign. He's this dominant flyweight champion, one that I think they've done a good job of pushing and has certainly gained a lot of popularity. Moreno, an amazing story, a guy, of course, in his second run with the UFC, so likable, the Mexican McLovin. How can you not root for him? So if either of them won, it would have been great. And then we kind of got the unexpected result of a majority draw, but after a 5-round classic, one of the best fights ever. So even the main event, I know people sometimes don't like draws, but even if you're against that, man, you can't say that fight didn't deliver. So that was fantastic. And then Oliveira looked incredible. Dern, they obviously is a star. They want her to be a star. She held up her end of the bargain. Kevin Holland, 5-0. Cedil Gane, putting away Junior Dos Santos, huge win for him. So again, I know we'll be answering questions. I won't go over the whole card, but really, this was on paper. It looked incredible. I know a lot of fans are looking forward to this one. We were definitely looking forward to this one. It just delivered in every way. So one of the best cards of the year, maybe the best. But I guess we'll have that discussion again further probably as we get closer to the new year.
Absolutely. It is just about award season. We have one more card coming up next Saturday, December 19th. We're all going to be watching. We're all excited about it. Apparently Dana White is not going to be there. He's going on vacation. He's taking the rest of the year off. And you know what? After the year the UFC had, he probably deserves it. But I'm kind of surprised he's not going to stick around for this one because it's a pretty damn good card. But let's go right to the peeps, Casey. Let's get right after this thing. Sandy Pham said she got her midnight snack for all of this, so let's let the peeps speak. It's been a crazy night. John Dagnan, sorry if I mispronounced it. Do you guys think that Figgy Moreno surpasses Weili Joanna as fight of the year? So it's interesting, AK, because we came into this card thinking that a lot of these awards were no-brainers, or at least like on the cusp of being no-brainers, but now we're coming out of it with all these different discussions. So I know this is a recency bias sport, AK, but as you're sitting here right now, as great as that title fight was tonight, was it better than Zhang Weili versus Joanna and Jacek back in March?
I'm going to still lean towards Zhang and JJ. I'll have to go back and watch it, of course. I think that's a huge factor. So I'm kind of also going against my own recency bias because as I was watching the fight tonight, I was certainly thinking, I think through like the 4th round, I was like, this is the best fight I've seen this year. Even remembering that Zhang and Jacek existed, I was like, this is the best fight I've seen. There was certainly a little more, if you're looking for a fight that had a few more dimensions to it, as it were, there's some great grappling in it. So there's that element to it as well because, Joanna and Zhang was a stand-up fight. Boy, what a stand-up fight it was. Again, one of the best stand-up fights we've ever seen in mixed martial arts history. So for me, I'll still lean towards that one. I do think it had a stronger finish as well. I remember by the 5th round of that Zhang JJ fight, like they were still going at it and just landing haymakers. It was what made it so unbelievable. And I don't think this round was bad, but I do think the pace that they cut took a toll on both of them. And it was a more methodical final round. Still showed off a lot of their skills, but obviously didn't quite match the high octane of rounds 1 to 4. So I'll lean to it's a strong second, But if anyone's telling me that's their pick for fight of the year, you cannot go wrong with that. It's one of the best championship fights ever. So what a treat for us that we got two classic UFC fights in 2020 like that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read this question off of Twitter real quick because Casey and I kind of talked about this, and I will guarantee you that I'm between the links and what the heck and A side we're gonna be having this discussion even more and more. So leave your thoughts in the comments for those of you watching. If you thought that this dethroned Weili and JJ, I tend to agree with you, AK, although it's very, very close. And the content creation brain of mine immediately says we need to do like a watch along with everybody. Like we can't like put the fights on the screen, obviously, but we could all like just start at the same place and just react to it as both fights as they're happening and just go through them. And then we can kind of make a decision from there. But that's just the way I look at it. But Turbo McGee on Twitter just asked, does the UFC have a scheduled pay-per-view once a month? That's a yes. Also, is the weekly cards a continuing thing, or is that a makeup because COVID cancellations, because the schedule kind of varies, doesn't it? Yes. So Turbo, that is true. We missed a lot of cards, so the UFC just kind of made up for it and just going bang, 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 bang. So we appreciate the question. Thank you. I wanted to make sure we got that in there. So I don't know. I mean, it's a good discussion to have that we have so many options for fight of the year at this point. Like it seemed like this is a runaway and now it is no longer. And it seems like the gap is at least closed into a discussion at this point. And I think that's a good thing.
Did this fight exceed, well, it had to, but like, did you expect this type of competitive fight? What was your expectations coming into this fight? The main event.
I thought Figgy was going to win by knockout before the championship round. So I definitely was. I knew it would be competitive. I don't know if I saw a fight of the year contender coming, but I'll say I don't know if I remember the Zhang Joanna Jacek fight. I don't know if I remember that thinking that would be a fight of the year. I knew it would be a great fight. I did not think it would be as violent and as back and forth as it was. I thought it'd be a little more technical, which it strangely was technical, even as they were like brutalizing each other's faces. Now that I'm talking about, I really want to watch that fight again. God, that fight is so good. So I'd say to some degree, both fights were a little surprising as far as I wouldn't have pictured them being the 1 and 2 best fights of the year heading into it. I'll tell you that right now.
You gotta remember in the Weili fight too, it was the co-main event, and there was so much hype for Romero and Izzy at that time.
Oh yeah,
and let's not talk about that. But I did rewatch Weili versus Joanna probably about a month ago, and my takeaways were, man, that crowd was awesome. As much as I complain about MMA crowds, for that one, you couldn't mess one up. You couldn't mess that one up. And the fight was closer than I remember, but I still had Weili winning the fight. But man, that fight ruled. That fight ruled, and this fight ruled too.
Yeah, this fight went pretty much to expectations. Like I thought Moreno would be able to avoid damage a little bit better than he did tonight. If we're being honest, I thought that it would be a wild and crazy pace for 3 rounds, and I thought Moreno would take over in 4 and 5. And I picked Moreno to win by decision. And it almost happened. There were a couple of fights that I picked that like nobody else on our staff picked, and I was so close to getting them right. Peter Barrett was another one. I was the only one on the staff to pick Peter Barrett.
Oh, and everyone knew Hooper was going to come out of the 3rd round submission. Everyone knew that. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's what everybody thought.
Were you like Rogan? Were you trying to retire Mr. Hooper halfway through the fight?
We're not going to. We're not going to dwell too much on. I don't want to dwell too much on the. We did this the last time. We did this at 255, right? We've already said criticized everything we want to say about it. I think it was even worse tonight. But I check my Twitter if you guys want to see stuff I thought about Rogan's comment tonight. Just absolutely atrocious. But I'm looking at the numbers now. It's horrible. I'm looking at the numbers now for Figueiredo and Moreno. These are the UFCstats.com numbers. So this was not what was on the broadcast. This was about as close as you can get. Significant strikes in total, 137 to 132 for the champion. So again, you can five significant strike differential. Round 1, 28-28. Round 2, 34-31 for Figueiredo. And then rounds 3, 25-21 for Moreno. Round 4, 40 to 38. 2 significant strikes differential, and they combined for almost 80 significant strikes. How do you even score these fights? And then round 5, I think the clearest one for Figueiredo, 16-8, so double them up. A little bit slower pace in the other rounds. So again, if people scored this fight for Moreno, I scored it for Figgy. If they scored for Moreno, this is a very strong case for it. This fight was super, super, super close. Definitely needs to be rewatched.
I find it kind of puzzling that all three judges, even with the point deduction, scored the third round for Figueiredo, like as a 9-9. I thought most people, you did too. A lot of people I saw on Twitter, and again, the fight was so good that the rounds just kind of blended together for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't even remember like which round was which at times because the fight was just so frenetic. Yeah, I didn't either. I stopped scoring after the second round. I was done. I was absolutely done with it. But it seemed like there were a lot of people out there who thought Moreno won the third round. It should have been a 10-8 for him. Okay. But the one judge in the fifth round scoring it for Moreno, he robbed Figueiredo. He robbed Figueiredo of the title tonight.
That's a weird one. That's bad. I will say for the third round, I may have been counter-programming in my brain the Rogan commentary. Again, I don't want to harp on this, but that's probably what was the most egregious. If I challenge anyone to rewatch the third round and not say that Rogan was out of his damn mind with how he was calling some of those exchanges, because literally there's moments where Figueiredo was landing clean shots and just nothing. No, literally, it's like he couldn't even see him. And then Moreno would land like a counter jab or a nice shot to the body, and then you get that over enthusiastic response. So for me, I think in my mind, I might have been. It shifted me the other way, maybe too far in the direction of Figueiredo. I still think Figueiredo won it, but I'll have to rewatch that. That was a really, really good round and definitely a good one for Moreno. I thought Figueiredo still edged it out, except for, of course, the stupid fouls. So, I'll admit to my own bias in that round. I was affected by the commentary, just not in the way you would expect.
Such a great fight. God, Casey.
I really, 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 really wish that the UFC, upon rewatching fights, you can just watch it with natural sounds, no commentary. Mm-hmm. You just don't get that opportunity to watch a fight with zero commentary, or at least just Anik or someone, or just, I mean, it was like Anik can read his promos for Cyberpunk and whatever. I get that, whatever. But man, it was just, you're right. I absolutely understand what you feel, AK. Because there were some things Rogan was saying, I was just like, it was just like getting in my head, and I just want to watch the fight and like look at this and like not be just annoyed or just angry. And it's the commentary does sway you. Even in round two, I really want to rewatch round two because I scored round two for Moreno, but I see only one judge gave it to Moreno. That's a lot of people online going, round two was clearly Figueiredo. So I was like, maybe I was swayed by the commentary. So I don't know.
It happens.
All right. Yeah. What else we got? I mean, the fight was awesome. So freaking good.
It is awesome. Ugh.
I don't think it passes. I think I'm in agreement with both of you gentlemen. I think the fifth round both those guys just beat the brakes off of each other, and they were probably just like, "Oh my god, how am I going to do this for another 5 minutes?" And
it was only because they beat the crap out of each other. Because round four, I mean, if we do round of the year, maybe round four is like round of the. I can't remember actually. I just like round four might have been so good that those guys came out and they basically kind of rested the first 3 minutes. I felt of round five just to go, but and so for the first 3 minutes we just had to focus on Rogan talking about Moreno's twisted arm or something. I don't know.
No, it was broken, Casey. He said it was broken. He was so sure that it was broken. Diagnosed from the broadcast table. Incredible stuff.
Just like Cub Swanson's knee blew out 3 times.
Oh my gosh! What is? But yes, again, focusing on the positive, the fight was amazing. There's so many parts where I thought the fight could have ended. Like they were landing some hard shots. So.
Sandy Pham, how impressive was Dern's stand-up? Casey, since this is your fight, this is the Casey main event. What did you think of Mackenzie Dern's stand-up? The fight played out exactly the way I thought it was going to play out, and I think most kind of agreed with that as well heading in, that there wouldn't be a lot of ground exchanges. It would be mostly on the feet. What did you think of Dern's stand-up?
First of all, I thought it was a great fight by both women. I thought the decision was correct. Dern won the fight. Her stand-up, ever improving. That's what it was. It was improving. What Dern really proved to me that she is a tough, gritty fighter. And that is super important in MMA. When you want to reach those highest levels of the division, you can be good at jiu-jitsu, you can be good at striking, you can be good at wrestling, you can be a good mixed martial artist, but above that, you got to be freaking tough. And Dern and Jandiroba both proved that they were freaking tough. And that's why basically big shout out and big credit to her striking coach. Why am I forgetting his name? Jason Perillo. When he was just telling Dern, just stop winging it, stop brawling, just throw straight punches. And that is what won her the fight in that third round when she started finally just straightening her jab out and just popping that jab. That jab won her that third round. That jab opened up to his body kicks, and she won the third round, which won her the fight. Because it was pretty much. I think everyone had a 1-1 going into the third. The fight was up for grabs in the third round. And once Dern just cleaned up her stand up and stopped just winging that one overhand, which is obviously very dangerous. But once she opened up that jab, pop, that won her the fight. So ever improving, and I'm not going to say Dern is going to be fighting for the belt anytime soon or ever maybe, but she's clearly improving, and she beat a very good fighter tonight that I thought she was going to lose to.
Yeah, it was a good performance. AK, what did you think? I mean, I think the first round was a little sloppy, probably both ways, if we're being honest. Second round, I think John DeRoba kind of cleaned things up. Third round, like Casey said, Dern kind of cleaned things up, but man, just the toughness that she showed in that fight. She broke her nose. And by the way, we mentioned Jason Perillo in terms of just being a striking coach. What about her and him in the corner? Mackenzie Dern's like, I think I broke my nose. He's like, nah, dude, you didn't break your nose. You're not
It's a cut.
You look good. You look good, girl. You're fighting great. Her nose is like,
sometimes it's okay to lie to your fighter in that case. I think we saw that tonight. I'm a fan of McKay 1 Dern. I'm not gonna lie. I think McKay 1 Dern is. Yeah, I think McKay 1 Dern is legit. No, I mean, look, she's a work in progress. I'm sure she'd be the first one to say it if you talked about her striking. But it is night and day. If you just look to some of her earlier UFC fights, she's always had, again, good athleticism and actually some natural power. I remember she rocked Amanda Cooper. She had a bit of a weight advantage in that fight, unfortunately, but she did. There's some technique behind that too, right? And so the power is there. I think anyone. So, and that's great. But someone like Perillo has to teach them how to sort of utilize that and add some technique. And most of all, I think when we see a lot of these grapplers, the biggest thing is, and Casey kind of touched upon this, is when things start to go badly, they just panic. When you're not an educated striker, you're going to panic when things aren't going your way. You're going to start just trying to tie up. You're going to start shooting in for unwise unwise takedown attempts. You're going to turn your back on your opponent. That's always like the worst sign of someone who's just not comfortable striking. You're turning your back. You're not circling. You're literally like running away. And that's the sort of thing that if you look at Dern tonight, she didn't show a lot of that. She also attempted a spinning strike, which actually didn't look that bad, like a spinning back fist. So there was a comfort level there, which is huge. So it's not just about the strikes that she landed. It's how she looks in some of the exchanges. Now, Jan Jaraba is not like obviously an elite striker, so this still needs to be tested, right? We need to see her against, for example, I don't think they're going to make this fight happen anytime soon, but like Atisha Torres would be a really good example of Dern striking. If you ask me right now, I think Tisha Torres would light her up on the feet. But maybe 2 fights from now, maybe 8 months down the road, a year from now, then we can talk about it, how much tutelage can we get Dern to get on that level. So a lot of rounding of her game needs to be done. The striking is on its way. I think she's at least, I would hope, 3 fights away from even talking about a world title shot. But again, the UFC moves so quickly. You get the right bull, she should be fighting for a title shot by the summer. I don't think she's ready for that yet, but we've seen stranger things. But yeah, specifically about the striking, boy, it was an enjoyable experience to watch. I wish it had been more chaotic, like Askren and Maya. That's what I thought things were going to have to break down into. But no, it was a competent striking battle with and Dern's definitely improved a lot. She earned a good decision. Agreed.
Before we get to the next question, I do have to concede something real quick, because one of the big talking points heading into this week, especially during the weigh-in show on Friday, is Ciryl Gane. How do we pronounce this man's name? Because we've heard Gane, we've heard Gane, we've heard Gane. John Anik on Friday said Gane. John Anik on Friday said Gane. On Saturday, he said Gane. So we're like, okay, I guess it's Gane. And then Bruce Buffer announces him the winner and says Gane. And now we're like, what the hell? But luckily, MMA fighting has come through with a final decision, because Jose Youngs, before Ciryl Gane left the press conference, asked the final question and said, how do you pronounce your last name? And he said Gane. So Gane is the winner. Gane is correct. Of course he did. He also said that in France, it's Gane, but if you said Gane, that's okay.
Okay.
I'm going completely wrong.
I'm going with French Canadian, which is where he spent a lot of time fighting. I know he is from France, so I was, and by the way, Mike, it's Cyril, okay, Cyril Gane. Right? You got Cyril. You got to get a little, you got to put a little tongue in there sometimes.
It's Figueiredo.
Theodore. But yeah, no. Anik knows. He addressed on the broadcast. He said it. I think after the fight was like, he's like, Cyril Gane. That is what we're going with. He's like, so yeah, maybe it's not 100% correct. I don't know, but Anik is definitely a tastemaker when it comes to pronunciation. So I think this is what we're going with for now. But who knows? Who knows next time?
Dave with the question: do we get Kevin Holland versus Israel Adesanya in 2021? I'm going to jump on this first and just say no, only because we don't know when Adesanya is going up to 205 to fight Jan Blachowicz. And if he wins that fight, he ain't coming back to 185 anytime soon because he's going to go up and fight John Jones. I think we all know that that's what's going to happen if he beats Jan Blachowicz. So I think it would all depend on what happens in that fight. But gut-wise, I say no. I think if Holland, I'm not saying Holland won't fight for a belt in 2021 because the guy will probably fight 11 times in 2021 and earn his way to a title shot and just run through everybody in the division because he's just that active and is that willing to fight at any point. I just don't think he fights Adesanya in 2021 because of how everything is sort of shaping up at this point. AK, what do you think? Do you think we see that fight in 2021?
No, it's certainly not in the plans. I'm certain that the matchmakers are not even looking at that matchup right now. They want to build towards the Israel John Jones super fight. That's their number one objective for 2021. If they can get that fight pinned down, it's everything else they're playing with house money at that point. That's a huge fight. I mean, can it happen? Yes, it totally can happen. We don't know. Fighters drop out, opportunities change. Maybe Izzy loses to Jan Blachowicz and then decides, okay, back to 185, permanent for me. I need a challenger. Who's next in line? Holland would be right there. So I think a lot of the answer is assuming that he beats Jan, which I would not assume at all, by the way. I would pick Izzy, but that's not an easy fight by any measure. I've picked against Jan many times and been wrong. So no, it's not in their plans, but I'm a little more optimistic than Mike that it could happen because I do think if Izzy comes back to 185, he'd defend his title at least a couple of times, and Holland very likely would be one of those defenses.
Can we change the question? Because I think the question really is: will Holland be fighting for a title by 2021? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, scheduling wise, it might mess up, but either a title or an interim title. Is Kevin Holland that good? Is he the real deal? Or is he just a guy on a streak who beat an aging fighter?
I want someone on this kind of goes to another question we just got on Twitter from Nathan, who said, did Holland change where he thought his ceiling was tonight? And did he move from fun fighter to legitimate contender with this win? I think for a lot of people, he had already moved into legitimate contender. Yes, he didn't have that big name. That's sort of what was so perfect about this Jacare matchup is that this was the name he needed. We know he's talented. We know he can win fights. 5-0 in 2020. He's one of only two fighters to do that, I think. I don't know what Neil Magny did it, maybe. Three.
I think there's one more. I think there's one more.
Huerta. Yep. He went 5-0.
Who?
I remember Roger Huerta.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'll have to look it up. Yeah, someone told me that. I actually have no recollection of that. I remember seeing the name pop up. So it's a very rare thing to do. We know he wins fights. So a lot of people, I think by the time he'd beaten, the Darren Stewart fight I know wasn't impressive, but that was probably one of the higher ranked guys he beat. But just by the streak he was on, I think a lot of people were already talking about him as being a contender. I needed some convincing. This fight convinced me, no question. Insane knockout. The fearlessness that has made me hesitate to call him a contender is clearly one of his assets. The willingness to go to the ground with a guy like Jacare, the willingness to stand with a guy like Joaquin Buckley. He's very confident in all of his abilities, and maybe that'll come to bite him at some point. It hasn't. So for me, the ceiling has raised, and I do see him as someone who could be 3 in the division, top 10 for a long time, and yes, someone who will challenge for a UFC title.
Roger Huerta went 5-0 in 2007.
Wow.
Was that the year he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated? Probably, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was John Halverson, Leonard Garcia, Douglas Evans, Alberto Crane, and Clay Guida.
Wow, that's a good year.
Roger Huerta versus Clay Guida was one of those fights that made me an MMA fan. I was just I didn't know too much about the sport back then. I think I was just started working in the sport. I think I was working for Elite XC at the time. I remember watching that fight, just thinking, this fight is freaking amazing. Because it was like a mixed martial arts fight. And I think that's the fight where Roger Huerta actually dropped Clay Guida or maybe knocked him out from his knees. Like, they were scrambling, he sprawled, got his knees, and just like, wow. It was just an amazing fight. Man, Roger Huerta talk. Who knew?
Yeah.
But talk about a guy who looked like he'd be a future lightweight champion, like for sure, and never even got a title shot. Neil Magny also has not gotten a title shot. So, but could someday. That's not ruled out, but hasn't yet. So fingers crossed.
What, you really got Roger Huerta?
No.
My goodness. My goodness.
Well,
my goodness. You are not a believer.
He's
still in Bellator. I think he's in Bellator.
But UFC, talking about UFC titles, yeah, it's not going to happen for Roger probably. It could happen for Neil Magny still, but hasn't yet. So hopefully 5-0 does not turn out in a year does not turn out to be some kind of weird curse. But just remember where it was mentioned first. Not that I believe in that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've been following Kevin Holland for a while, even before he's in the UFC. When he got in the Contender Series, I was like, all right, here he goes. I feel like this is the guy that most people who followed him, like if you're from the Dallas, Texas area, anywhere in Texas, and you were watching Kevin Holland go through the ranks, I think you expected this guy that we've seen this year to come out of his shell, and I think we're starting to see it now. I think, and it started with the Fluffy Hernandez win. Like I remember asking him, I was like, "This is the Kevin Holland people have been waiting to see since you got into the UFC," and he's like, "You're right." But and now we're seeing it tenfold. This is a man who completely took advantage of the situation. I saw Tristan Gornet's question. Yeah,
that knockout was insane.
Ridiculous. Yeah, that was insane.
Where did that come from? What was?
Are we actually talk about Jacare? I mean, Holland's knockout now.
Yeah, I mean, like we like to be very measured and calm here, especially when we're asked a question. We want to directly get to it. But that knockout was, I wasn't even sure what happened at first, because I think the initial angle, I was like, it was hard to tell that he caught him so clean. And caught him with a clean one before he landed the one that actually knocked him out. He landed a super hard shot, and I heard it, but it's almost like I didn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, that was weird. Like that punch shouldn't have made such a loud sound. And then sure enough, he lands another right hand and just puts him out. Real bad too. Like Jacare was kind of trying to stand up after, and they had to keep kind of guiding him to the stool. Like
I was like, let him sit down. Let him sit down. Let him lie down.
You gotta sit down. You are
take a nap, bro.
Jacare is gonna watch that one later and probably just be like, how? No way. Like that's he definitely doesn't remember it, and he's gonna see it and be like, how is that even possible? Because this guy's seen it all, and he's probably not seen that one.
Dude, he's been that's as great as a career as Jacare had. That's now 2 vicious knockouts in his career from someone's guard. It's just a kind of a bummer, man. Yeah, you're talking about describing that knockout. Actually, when it happened, of course, as a fan, I'm just going, "Wah!" Screaming. Esther, my wife, is in the other room, and she's like, "What happened? What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, Kevin Holland just knocked out Jacare." She's like, "Oh, what happened? Describe it." I was just all like, "You're gonna have to see this." I'm just like, I don't know. I was like, he kind of punched him. Weird. I'm not sure.
He wasn't even like sitting down or on his back. He was like in that in between sort of your butt kind of balanced on his butt phase and just whips the arm out and somehow lands right on that button. I've never seen. I have never seen.
We've all watched MMA a very long time, and I remember, years ago, Dana White would say at press conferences, every card has like that holy shit moment. Something happens you've never seen before. I don't think I get that same holy shit moment for every card now, but that was a holy shit moment. I have never seen that before. That was like, actually, I was texting my coach, my MMA coach. I was like, we were just talking about it, and when it happened, it's like, dude, you can't train for that. You don't train that. That's just something, you're just a fighter, and you're just tough and smart and quick and fast and powerful. And it's like, that's just something that happens. That's not a position you ever train for. You just see a guy's face and you punch it. I don't know. It was amazing.
Who would throw that? Who would throw that strike in that situation? You're not gonna land anything effective, or so I thought until tonight.
Well, compare that knockout to Chase Hooper. Remember that whole? He was sitting. Who's his opponent? He was fighting.
Peter Barrett.
Peter Barrett. There's like
and guess what? It worked.
It worked.
It worked.
Chase Hooper.
When the reports come in this week, 6 months medical suspension for Chase Hooper. That's all I'm saying. The hand is a mess.
That punch that Kevin Holland landed that set it all up, it was like a pro wrestling punch. It was like a comeback punch,
right?
Like in a main event where you see like the two guys just on their knees, like trading punches. The boo yay. There was no boo. It was just yay and then yay. Just, and each punch Kevin Holland was throwing was coming from a higher angle and coming down more ferociously.
Yeah,
and Jacare going down backwards, like a weird yoga position, like
yeah.
Oh, what a madman! And Kevin Holland, in his post fight interview, because everyone knew he was going to get $50K. He said he might buy himself a Lincoln Continental. I like that, man. Classy man.
Yeah,
he's had himself a year. He's had an alright.
When I talked to him, what the heck, he said when, like early on in his career, he used to drive a Lincoln Continental from Texas to Louisiana. So he said that. He goes, yeah, and I used to see alligators. He goes, now I'm gonna, just go to Vegas and I'm gonna hunt another alligator, and that's what he did. The dude just gets. He's so marketable, like. And he doesn't even want to be in the damn video game anymore. He said he heard the video game sucks, and I just didn't want to be in it anymore.
Hold on.
Guess what?
Dogs are going crazy.
He should get his own video game. We need Kevin Holland's MMA. When they used to do like Magic versus Bird. And actually Ken Griffey Jr.'s home run baseball. We need Kevin Holland's. I don't even know what to describe, but like wild ass cage fighting, because that's the style he was using there was wild ass, because you don't throw punches like that.
Wild ass.
You don't throw punches like that. You're not supposed to.
Does the UFC?
This is Bill Lambier combat basketball, but
thank you.
Does the UFC still do when they do their intros? Do they say what fighting discipline? Oh,
sometimes, yeah, they do.
Wow, and Kevin Holland, specializing in wild ass martial arts.
You can't tell this guy he can't do something. You cannot tell him that he can't do something. All right, because he doesn't believe in it. All right, he'll do anything.
I'm gonna go. Can we go? I'm gonna throw in my own question because I haven't seen this question, but I think this is a big thing to talk about. Talk about tonight's card in the sense of just a changing of the guard. I didn't really think of that coming into this card, but look, Charles Oliveira demolishing Ferguson, a longtime vet. Cyril Gane demolishing Junior Dos Santos, a longtime vet. And then there was another big one.
You said Kevin Holland and Jacare.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Holland and Jacare. Just like, man, like, are these guys that knocked out those guys, are they is Kevin Holland now the new Jacare in the sense that Jacare has been a top tier middleweight for, I don't know, a decade now. Can we expect Kevin Holland, Cyril Gane, and I have so many fights. What can we expect these guys, Oliveira, to be like basically premier fighters for the next decade?
Well, I mean, UFC is hard. I think it's hard to hold on to that ranking for a long time. It depends what division. And heavyweight, certainly you can stay in there for a while. The turnover in talent is not as high. But I mean, but for the next 2 years, is Charles Oliveira probably a top 5, top 10 guy? Yeah, of course. Kevin Holland, he's a bit younger, and again, a middleweight. If you told me he's in the top 10 for the next 3 or 4 years, yeah, he's taking that spot now. Ciryl Gane for sure. Ciryl Gane now, who knows? Maybe he takes one of those heavyweight spots for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So if you're just asking in general, yeah, are these guys going to be the names we see in the rankings for quite some time? Yeah, definitely get used to it. These guys aren't going anywhere unless one of them goes on a Khabib-like run and just decides to retire from just clearing stuff out, which at this point, Oliveira looks like he could do it. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would agree. We could even throw Rafael Fiziev in that equation, beating Renato Moicano. That's a pretty damn impressive performance in his own right. Mm-hmm. And thank you, Dana White, for confirming what I mean. Nobody saw it because me and Casey were kind of having a debate on like who should have got the performance of the night, whether it should have been Cub Swanson or Rafael Fiziev. And the talk was it was a cleaner knockout. Maybe the stoppage was wrong, but Dana White said he hated how the production shot that because Moicano tried to get up to his feet and he couldn't get up. He just kept falling back down, but nobody saw it on the broadcast because they were just showing Fiziev celebrating.
I think they did show a replay of it, and I still disagree with. I'm okay with the stoppage, but I really understand. I really think Moicano deserved a chance to get out of that because as soon as he did drop, his head did hit the mat, but he was pulling guard. He was grabbing Fiziev's biceps, which is what you should do. And he was doing the correct thing to do. It's just I just wish he got a little bit more leeway, but that's the sport. I get why the stoppage happened. I mean, I get why why the ref stopped it. He got hit for 3-piece and he went down hard. I get it, but
I had no problem with the stoppage, but we have seen fighters come back from a lot worse than that.
Yeah. So this is very different from the JDS thing. The JDS thing was just that was pure. That was clean. There wasn't any. There was nothing controversial about that.
I would agree with that. What else we got?
What do we got from the people?
Not really a question. Oh, here. I already got an answer for this, but I want to go ahead and put it out there.
John, getting 2 questions on
next. 2 former kickboxers, Muay Thai fighters going at 155. Count me in. AK, we're gonna be talking more about this on to the next one. So maybe we'll defer to Casey because, by the way, on to the next one. We're running down all the winners, and a couple of losers,
and one loser,
and one of the co-champions. But sure, Casey, is this the fight you want to see, Casey?
As soon as that fight ended, is absolutely the fight I wanted to see. But then the MMA manager, Mr. Danny Rubenstein, tweeted at me and said this fight will not happen because they both are Tiger Muay Thai guys and they train together.
Oh, that's right.
There we go.
Right.
So,
they would not fight each other. He said, unless it's for the belt. So unless we want to gather a bunch of money for them to fight for fun, they're not fighting each other. So, but those guys are both super exciting, so they have plenty of guys to fight. So we're good.
Yeah. Or hopefully, when this a year from now or whenever, hopefully sooner, this COVID thing passes, head down to the gym and maybe you'll get to see Fiziev and Riddell go a few rounds. So, but very cool matchup on paper. Obviously, now it doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Let's stick with the Muay Thai.
Can Gane hang with the top heavyweights? What do you think, AK? I mean, we talked about this in the previous show. Yeah, I mean, I think you know what I mean. We're talking about the cream of the crop.
I think one of the special things about Gane is that his people who only see sort of his record and say, oh, okay, he like finishes people. He must be one of those guys. He's like a kind of a classic young berserker heavyweight. He's not that at all. He's really, really patient. People should watch the Tanner Boser fight where both guys looked really good because they're both really skilled, patient guys. Boser's a lot more experienced than him, so that's kind of what made Gane's win so impressive. People shouldn't think like, oh, he didn't finish Boser. I'm like, no, Boser's really tough. That if anything, that decision might have been the best, most impressive win of Gane's career. He's a finisher, but he's very patient, and especially you see him in there with Dos Santos, who's I think one of the best technical strikers we've ever seen at heavyweight. For Gane to be able to be in there with him, a more experienced guy, former UFC champion, and look completely in place, completely like he belonged there, and then of course winning the fight. I mean he could definitely can hang. I think you could put him in there with an Overeem, and I think he'd accommodate himself very well. I think he's right up there with Jairzinho. I think would be good. I'm not saying throw him in there with Stipe Miocic right away, of course, but Derek Lewis. Honestly, if you put him in there with Derek Lewis, I don't know if I would favor Lewis. I might go with Gane. That's how impressed I am with this guy's poise so far. He's just very, very, very mature, which is for a guy with only his seventh pro fight. It's really rare that you see that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's tough because there's a part of me that doesn't want to rush him, but then there's a part of me that's like, you kind of have no choice. Like, I'm not saying throw him up there against Stipe, like you said, or the Ngannous of the world, but you threw him in there with Derek Lewis, I'm fine with that. Like, if Curtis Blades can't come back like in the next couple of months, let's just say like Derek Lewis still wants to fight in January, and from all accounts, it seemed Derek Lewis thought maybe the 16th or the 20th, something in that neighborhood, they were going to try to rebook that fight with Curtis Blades. But apparently that is not the case. Blades will not be ready for that date. It would probably have to be in February if they're going to rebook that. If Derek Lewis is like, F it, I want to fight in January, why not? I am totally down to see Gane versus Derek Lewis. That fight's just gonna be insane. It'll be wild.
I'd pick Gane, and I'd pick Gane.
Wow,
this guy's legit. I think this guy's legit.
But you make a good point, AK. I really enjoyed his patience. I enjoyed I enjoyed his very technical Muay Thai. He looked like a Muay Thai fighter in there, but Muay Thai doing MMA. And the way he closed the distance, way he I think actually Rogan one thing he did say that was nice. I think he said he had off speed kicks. You know, it's not just he changed the speed of his kicks, things like that. Which I thought, he was doing that, and great elbows, great finishing, and just seems like a nice guy to hang out with. Just seems like a cool dude.
He looks like a welterweight in there. His movement, his agility.
Yeah,
you couldn't tell that this guy's a heavyweight. He is just so he just moves so well.
What about the Dontel Mays fight? I think that was like one of my favorite Ciryl Gane fights because he just beat him up on the feet for like 14 minutes plus.
Yeah,
and then he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna heel hook him. I'm just gonna heel hook him.
I want the finish.
15 seconds left of the fight.
Yeah, I want the finish. And guess what? He got 50 G's for that. So that decision to go for it paid off real well for him. So you just don't see that.
I appreciate that because he knows in that we got the heel hook. He's like, you know what? I can take this risk. I'm gonna go for it because so he's fighting smart. So he's in there and he's very self-aware. Like, okay, I have this fight. Now I can kind of try things I only try in the gym. You know, so I like that about him.
He's wise beyond his MMA years. That's for damn sure.
It's that time he spent fighting in Canada. I'm telling you, it changes you. It makes you a better man.
That's right. Mohamed Noor, after seeing Oliveira dominate Ferguson, do you think the Khabib versus Tony fight would have gone the same? It's an interesting question. I think that was like one of the main things that made that fight so interesting. Is like, oh, what happens if the fight gets to the ground and Khabib takes him down and Tony's on his back? Like, we all thought it'd be a big scramble fest and Ferguson's defensive jiu-jitsu would be kind of like I'm not going to say kryptonite for Khabib, but definitely something that he would have to think about. But after seeing that, Casey, are you just like, there's a part of you that maybe the fight was a little overrated between Ferguson and Khabib?
I'm a bit the wrong person to ask because I kind of always felt that fight was overrated. I think we might have talked about it on the during the post presser, but I've thought Khabib was the best lightweight in the world for a long time. He's been the best lightweight in the world to me for the last like 5-6 years, way before he was actually champ. And the Ferguson thing was fun to talk about because they tried it out like 20 times, and it took a global pandemic to stop the last one. You know, so I even prime Tony, that would have happened. It might have been even like a worse beating. It would have been a lot more elbows from the top. Instead of like arm bars and triangles, it would have been Tony Ferguson getting his jaw ripped off, probably something like that. So it would have gone the same.
AK, what do you think? And I think what this performance actually did for Charles Oliveira is that narrative that really pissed me off and probably a lot of other people off, that Khabib was afraid. Khabib was afraid that he pulled out of the Ferguson fight because he was afraid of him at UFC 249.
Yeah.
That was a thing. That was a very popular thing before UFC 249. And I was just like, what? What are you talking about? Now we can officially like put that to bed here. But do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like watching the Oliveira performance that it would have gone the same, if not worse, if Ferguson actually got to fight Khabib, especially in 2020?
I'm glad Muhammad asked this question because I'm certainly someone who should be held accountable for my opinion that I for the longest time was driving the Ferguson is the man to beat train. I was all on that, much to the chagrin of our own Jed Meshew, who's long been on the Ferguson had no chance against Khabib. He has argued that on many occasions. I always thought Ferguson would do it. I've spoken very highly of Ferguson's scrambling ability, but I do think tonight we saw, boy, if you are an elite grappler with great top control and you're calm, I mean, scrambling is great, but when you're in bottom position, you're in bottom position. And unless if you have a guy like Oliveira or Khabib, who just almost never makes mistakes when they're trying to pass, when they're doing ground and pound, they know when to attack, they know when to control. Their performances are flawless when they get on the ground. the scrambling ability just almost doesn't matter. You could be the best scrambler in the world. The best control guy is always going to beat the best scrambler. That's how I see it now. That's how I understand it now. And maybe I should have known this before. Yeah, I think even if you take the best version of Ferguson, because people today sure like Ferguson, the Gaethje fight was a sign of Ferguson's decline. He's going to be 37, I think, or 38 in February or early next year. Okay, so maybe you want to say this isn't the best version. I still think that the 80% version of Ferguson beats the majority of fighters at 155. So this is not to take anything away from Charles Oliveira. I think if you take the best version of Ferguson and you took the best version of Khabib, I think based on what we saw tonight, you can sort of have some idea that Khabib wins that matchup 99 out of 100 times. So yes, I am officially retiring my Ferguson was the man to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov narrative tonight. We'll never know for sure because the fight won't happen, but I can say I was wrong in driving that train.
We can
Oliveira looked amazing tonight.
I can say you're wrong too, AK.
Go for it. Thank you, Case. Thank you for helping me with that. I was struggling to get the words out. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, based on for sure. They're not the same fighter at all, Oliveira and Khabib, but I mean, I get what people are saying. The grappling dominance, what we saw tonight, yes, I do think Khabib could do a similar thing to Ferguson and would beat him.
It must have been so frustrating for Tony Ferguson tonight because he survives that like insane armbar. And normally when that happens, like the momentum of a fight will like totally shift because you're just like, wow, how did that not get finished? Like you can see frustrations mount in fighters, but Oliveira was calm, cool, collected. And Ferguson, what a lot of people like don't think about because the fight was so dominant is that like he tried to scramble and he did some really nifty work off of his back trying to get back to his feet, but Oliveira was just 3 steps ahead of him. Every time Ferguson was like, oh yes, I got back to my feet, Oliveira would like throw him up in the air or use his feet to like just slam him back down. Like no matter what Ferguson did, Oliveira was just all over him. Like there's nothing he could have done. It was just so crazy. What a performance from Charles Oliveira tonight.
What about Tony Ferguson? We kind of talked about, crossroads fight. Well, clearly this thing, I mean, we talked about, I think even the little pre-show, well, unless Ferguson gets like knocked out, in the first round, I think whatever happens is still Tony Ferguson. I know he didn't get knocked out in 30 seconds, but this is about just as bad.
I think there's still a lot of great matchups for him. I don't know.
I think so. I think matchups are going to be great because he's Tony freaking Ferguson, like Diego Sanchez. People still want to see Diego Sanchez. I think Tony Ferguson, we'll see, but he's always going to be an exciting fighter. In sense of media and fans, is he ever going to be a top 5 fighter again, or maybe he still is? I don't know.
This might have knocked him out of there. Gosh, it's so hard to say that because again, I want to lean towards giving Oliveira more credit than necessarily taking away right from what Ferguson did. But both can be true. Again, both can be true. Oliveira is peaking and that is his best, and maybe Tony Ferguson is a little bit past his prime. Both can be true. I'd rather not dwell on that, but it has to be you have to talk about it. It cannot be dismissed. It cannot be dismissed. So it's certainly possible. So yeah, what's next for him? I don't know. Again, a lot of good fights, but you're right. Are we still focusing on can he contend? Are we just looking for fun legacy fights now? I'm sure he'll have something to say about it soon.
I would like to see him just do nothing for like the next several months. Like I don't want to see crazy training montages. I don't want to see anything. I want to see him just like relax. Like just chill out. Yeah. Do something relaxing. Find a way to get your brain out of the fight game for a while. Like if he took all of 2020 off or 2021 off, wouldn't upset me at all. I actually think it would probably be a good thing for him. This has been a crazy ass year for him. I mean, between losing Khabib again, then he's fighting Gaethje at 249 on this day. Does the weight cut?
Remember, it gets canceled. It gets canceled the last second. Remember, it was supposed to be at Tachi Palace. Remember that whole thing too? Like that.
Oh my god!
Don't forget Tachi Palace. UFC is going back to Tachi Palace. Remember?
Never forget Tachi Palace. And then the Jacksonville thing, and the beating he took in that fight, and then the whole Dustin Poirier thing in October, and. Trying to.
Oh my god, you're right. I forgot about that.
I mean, just so much, and then like the Michael Chandler thing, and just the man has gone through a lot the last few years, and it started like it started with the torn ACL and then coming back and like getting in those wars right away. Like the Cerrone fight was a war. The Anthony Pettis fight was a war. Like the dude has just, I'd like to see him. He's had injuries, and even like during those injuries, like you tear your ACL, most of these guys, if they're just super duper durable, are back in a year. Like look at Rob Font. Took him a year to get back. Cub Swanson took him a year to get back. Tony Ferguson was back in like 7 months. The dude just like vigorously rehabbed and did everything he could to like just defy the odds and defy what doctors' orders and all these crazy things because he's Tony freaking Ferguson. He's a madman. I would like to see him just relax, spend time with your family, join a men's baseball league, just throw dudes out from right field. Like he loves baseball. Go in there and just get a bunch of saves in a summer baseball league and just relax. Get out of the fight game for a little while. Like just you're opening up a gym, focus on that, focus on training the next guys, but just take some time for yourself, man. Like that's what I want to see. I don't think he's done by any stretch of the imagination. The skill set's there. I just think at this point, like he just needs a break from being a professional fighter for a little while.
And maybe the right matchmaking. Maybe when he comes back from that year, let's see how the lightweight landscape looks, and let's find a reasonable matchup for him. Because there's a lot of guys he could beat. There's a lot of guys who could do a lot of damage to him, more damage to him, I should say, than he's taken in the last 2 fights, which is considerable. Let's find the right matchup too. I think that's just important.
Yeah,
I had the matchup. I'm just getting a little onto the next one exclusive before. The matchup it starts with a P and it ends with all Felder. That's the fight today.
I would
give me a second. Yeah.
I would keep Mr. P. Elder or whatever you talk about. I would keep him so far away from Tony Ferguson right now. I agree and disagree with your point, Mike. I think I don't want to say they're the same person, but I think Tony Ferguson is a bit like BJ Penn in the sense his identity is a fighter. His identity is just being an athlete. And I think what you said, play softball, be in a co-rec softball league. As long if he leaves the MMA fighting, if he leaves MMA for a little bit, I do hope he stays athletic and like plays community softball or something. But I'm afraid with too much time on his hand, idle hands, and Tony Ferguson probably could be a dangerous thing. But if Tony Ferguson comes back in say 3 months, please give him a guy outside the top 15. I want squash matches, just like Tisha Torres got a showcase fight tonight. Guys like Tony Ferguson he deserves a showcase fight. Just some rando that wins a contender series. Hey, you get to face Tony Ferguson now. Wow. Oh, something like that. That's what Tony Ferguson. That's what I wish would happen for Tony. If this was boxing, Tony Ferguson would fight about 5 contender series guys in a row. But it's not boxing. It's UFC. But I hope they treat Tony Ferguson that way. Just give him a body. Not someone that we've even heard of. I feel that's what he needs right now.
Ferguson is one of the high-ranked guys who actually would be open to that kind of idea. He would fight because look, Charles Oliveira was a guy. A lot of the higher-ranking guys in the top 5 didn't want to fight. There just wasn't anything to gain. He's insanely dangerous. And again, if you're in the top 5, you can only lose your spot when you face a guy like him. Because Oliveira was probably just on the outside looking in. I imagine maybe 6 was the highest most people would have him. What was he in the official rankings? I should know this. I have this. He was 7th in the official rankings going into this fight.
Really?
So, yes, I think he's behind RDA. I think RDA jumped him when he came back to lightweight. So I think there's a lot of there's a lot of good reasons for the guys in the top 5 not to face him. Plus, they're all kind of tangled up and booked against each other. So I'm not saying anyone they were scared. I'm just saying strategically, why would you want to fight a Do Bronx? And of course, Ferguson said, "Screw it, I'll do it. It's a tough opponent, chance for him to get a win. But I mean, he certainly had less to gain, and he did it anyway. Really, he'll fight anybody." Mike, is it okay if I move on because I do want to address someone's comments? Yeah. So Mike,
sure.
You mentioned Cub Swanson, someone else who had a year-long layoff, also dealing with an injury, rehabbing a pretty severe knee injury. Eric in CO on Twitter, I assume that means Eric in Colorado. He just wanted to point out that we've talked a lot about changing the guard, but one guy who did not lose his spot was Swanson. Wasn't facing a young newcomer. He was facing another veteran, but certainly Pineda has a lot to gain from adding a guy like Swanson to his resume because he's got some good wins, but no one with the name value of Swanson. So this would have been big. And Swanson put on an absolutely wonderful, fun to watch performance and put Figueiredo away. So that was one of the best stories tonight. And definitely, I just want to make sure we talk about this because that was really, really, really a great moment.
This is a night of durability because Cub Swanson dealt with a lot in that first round. Figueiredo was scoring, he was landing big shots, and I think, and a lot of his past fights, especially since the Georgie loss, which shouldn't have been a loss to begin with, he's just been rifling through everybody. Like the way he fought Cub Swanson early tonight, finished almost every guy he fought leading up to that fight. And Cub just didn't go away. In fact, it made him stronger for some reason, which is just wild. Cub Swanson is a G. That was impressive. He overcame that first round and just stole the momentum and then just was like, the hell with this. I'm putting this thing away. That was awesome. What a great performance tonight.
And with a torn knee.
Right?
Multiple torn knee in his leg. Durability.
Tore everything.
No, but you made a good point. Just durability. I talked about it with Mackenzie Dern. That's her being so durable in that fight. I was like, okay, now I can say she has the ability to be an elite strawweight. And we already know Cub Swanson's elite strawweight, and he showed it tonight. Pineda might have actually been the better fighter, but Cub Swanson won the fight. He won it decisively too. He's just durable. I think just better strategy. He could stay focused in the fight. He knew how to control his energy during the fights. That I feel like Pineda came out pretty tired in the second round, or at least he gave the physical appearance that he was tired. But Cub Swanson, man, I felt you try not to be biased, man, but when you're watching at home, but when Cub won, I think all the fans and everyone, all of us were a little bit like, good for Cub.
MMA doesn't always make you feel good, even when you're entertained. It doesn't. When you see a nasty knockout, I wouldn't say I feel good. Like let's say we saw let's talk about the Joaquin Buckley KO. We all loved it. One of the most exciting moments of the year. I didn't feel good after I saw that KO. You know what I mean? When they showed Impa Kasanganay, the way he fell, I didn't feel good inside. I felt good after Swanson's win. There was just something. So he's I think it's fair to say an elder statesman of the sport. I don't mean to say he's near the end of his career or anything. Who knows? He could fight for another 5 years. But the way he carries himself, he's an elder statesman. He's a great ambassador. He's a hell of an exciting fighter. I mean, I'm not just talking about a guy who's getting by on his being a good citizen. His fights are amazing. There's a reason he's a fan favorite for a reason. And facing another guy, a really tough veteran like Mike said, a guy who's just been mowing people down with his fighting style. Meeting him right there in the cage and just showing why he's, again, just such a skilled, such a professional guy. And again, coming back from a year off, so tough. And he looked like he was in amazing shape for a guy who's been out for a year. So cannot wait to see this guy fight again. And really one of the positive stories of this year for sure.
I like his mustache too. Just saying.
Yes. Oh, and I forgot to mention his post-fight quote. Where he gets choked up, and he's like, "Oh, I was in there, and I was just thinking about my kids. I'm their superhero, And I'm not made of stone. Okay, I'm not made of stone. It got a little dusty. Over here. It was a great moment. I got emotional with him, just a little bit. I'm a soy boy. Okay, what do you want from me? I'm a soy boy. I'm big time. We all know this.
Eat some steak, man. Get some protein.
Yeah, I need to stay. Yeah, definitely need some more meat in my diet.
Oh man, what else we got?
Someone in the comments mentioned the Levitt slam, by the way, as an example of something you enjoyed but didn't necessarily. No one felt good after that. No one felt good.
No, nobody did.
Especially Wyman.
It's true.
Yeah. It's up there.
Yeah, of course. Yep. Josh.
Feel good win of the year? Absolutely.
Maybe the number one. Again, we're going to look. What we do, guys. We'll be doing a lot of year in review stuff as it go on. Articles. We talk about it, of course, on all the various shows that we do for you guys. So a lot of the year discussions coming up. So please, guys, stay tuned for that. And send your suggestions in and all that stuff because we need help figuring some of this stuff out. I mean, fighter of the year it's just a mess.
Oh boy.
Tristan Gordet. You have Conor versus Poirier. You have Chandler versus Gaethje. Maybe, assuming Conor versus Poirier is for the lightweight title, would you book Oliveira for the title shot or have him face the winner of Chandler versus Gaethje? You know what? I liked exactly what Oliveira said. Give him the winner of Conor versus Poirier, no matter what. He's earned it. That performance, and people talk about how great Justin Gaethje looked against Tony Ferguson, and he had his dominant moments in that fight. He was hitting him with some big shots, but he didn't big brother Tony Ferguson like Charles Oliveira did tonight. I mean, that was just really impressive stuff. And I have no issue with Oliveira calling for the winner of Conor versus Poirier whatsoever.
If we're assuming Khabib is retired, which again, I do think he'll fight again someday, but I'm respecting his retirement for now. I think he might come. I don't know if he'll come back on all this Dana White. I'm meeting up with him stuff, whatever. This is, by the way, recency bias to the max. Charles Oliveira looked to me like the best lightweight in the world tonight. Just with the skill set, the all-around skill set he showed. I know people are going to say, hey, Gaethje just beat and finished Ferguson in a 5-round fight earlier this year. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I'm not forgetting that. It's just there was something shown to me, and again, the fact that I just saw it earlier tonight, that made me think that
Gaethje did get touched up. It's not like he came out of there without any bruises. But tonight,
Ferguson looked better. Yeah, Ferguson looked better against Gaethje than he did against Oliveira. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
but
different fights. I get it. Yeah.
Different fights, completely different styles. Exactly. But Oliveira, I'll tell you right now, all the names in this question here, Tristan, I'm picking Oliveira to beat any of them. Khabib right now is the only fighter I think who, if you ask me who would I pick, I would pick Khabib. Other than that, I'd pick him to beat Conor, Poirier, Chandler, Gaethje. I think Oliveira, he might be the best. And again, I am high off of that performance, but I'm making that statement now. You guys can clip it. You guys can quote me on this on Twitter, throw it in my face later. But that's how I felt about what I saw tonight. I'm not betting against him anymore.
I mean, how could you argue with anything you just said there? Casey, what do you think?
Oh, coming into tonight's card, I thought there would be 2 breakout fighters. I thought it was going to be Oliveira, and he did actually what I expected him to do. It was just weird seeing it. You know, I've thought of Oliveira. I thought that highly of him for actually a while now. It was just kind of cool going, oh, cool, I was right. And I also thought Janjanova was going to have a breakthrough performance tonight, even though she had a great performance. Not the same type of performance. Obviously, she lost. But Oliveira, outside of Khabib, he can win all those fights without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Let me ask you this. AK, I'll ask you this first, because there's a lot of people some people value finishes just so highly, right? If what makes more of an impact in your opinion? The way that Charles Oliveira just start to finish for 15 minutes straight, just dominated Tony Ferguson and big brothered him, or if he got that submission in the first round? What do you think has like more of an impact in your own mind? And because it's not like 30-27, this is an ass whooping for 15 minutes.
I admit, I probably would have been even more hyped if he finished in the first round. It's cool that we got to see the complete performance, like you said, that he could dominate for 3 rounds. But definitely, I mean, if you guys think I'm overhyped now and I'm exaggerating now, if he had finished Ferguson by submission, I probably would have been saying, oh, the Bronx is the friggin' greatest lightweight of all time. So I think a first round submission would have made a little bit more of an impact with me. But what we got was said enough. You know, you can't take anything away from it. Ferguson is just so damn tough. First round submission would have been nice, and I actually almost thought we were going to see it. And frankly, if there had been 10 more seconds of the round, we would have. But credit to Tony Ferguson for being, not human.
If there were 10 more seconds of the round, we might have seen like a bone pop out of Tony's skin. I'm not kidding. Thank goodness there was actually at the end of the round, because Tony, I think, is one of those guys that, like Renzo Gracie when he fought Sakuraba, like just wasn't going to tap. Was just gonna let his arm break, like big nog, and like I felt like Tony was in that type of position where he was just not gonna tap and just let it or snap. But
that was gross.
I came out of that fight thinking that there's only 2 fights that would bring Khabib back. One would be GSP, obviously. If somehow, some way they could make that happen, and GSP could magically get to 155, and they could fight, I think we could see that. I honestly believe that the way Charles Oliveira performed tonight, Charles Oliveira could get Khabib out of retirement. But not today, not tomorrow, not even in 2021. If Charles Oliveira somehow becomes a champion and wins 4 more, what's his win streak at? 9 right now?
9, I think. All finishes. Oh no, sorry, not finishes. Okay. All finishes before tonight. I apologize.
If Oliveira wins 4 more in a row and gets to 13 straight wins, and starts going after Khabib's like streak of how many consecutive wins he has, maybe Habib comes out and is like, you know what? You ain't taking my record. I want that fight. I think that would, because if he wins 4 more in a row, he's going to beat, just think of the other guys he's going to beat. Like, he just beat Ferguson. He would beat Chandler. He would beat Gaethje. He'd beat Poirier, probably Conor. He'd probably beat all 4 of those guys to get to that point. At some point, Habib's going to be scratching his head and be like, all right, maybe I'll see what this guy can do. I mean, I don't think Habib comes back for any of the guys at 55 right now. None of them. Not one.
Yeah. That's the stuff that legacy fights are made. That's why, Mike, I agree with you, because I said, like, I don't think we see Habib come back in next year. But yeah, we're talking about 2022, right? Depending where Oliveira is at that point. Like you said, he's breaking all the finish. He's broken all the finishing records already. Then he just has to start adding on the wins records. So, gosh, that's the new dream fight, right? That's the new dream fight we're chasing. I think Ferguson, Khabib, whatever.
Yeah.
Khabib, Oliveira.
I want to say that actually the main problem right now, the main issue of Oliveira is we work in the media. I've mentioned this before. I've seen Oliveira fight probably 15 times now. Tonight, I learned more about him. The fact that he carries a rock around.
100%.
And that's 100%. That is the problem of Oliveira. I know nothing about him. Zero. I think I'm from Houston, Texas. And when Buffer announced fighting out of Houston, Texas, I'm like, what? How can the potentially a future UFC Hall of Famer, a guy who's gonna be fighting for the title very soon, a guy who's could be one of the greatest lightweights ever? It's like, and I know nothing about him. What do you know about him? Does he have kids? Is he married? What do you know? I know he's Brazilian, wears glasses, and has tattoos. And
kind of looks like Tony Ferguson.
And that's an issue. That's an issue. The UFC needs to figure how to package and sell to the casual Charles Oliveira, because there's going to be a lot of Charles Oliveira in our future.
Well, I mean, sometimes it all lines up. Look at Deiveson Figueiredo. Deiveson Figueiredo might be the most interesting guy on the entire UFC roster, with all the odd jobs, the road he's taken to get to where he's at, and we're finally starting to see his personality shine. Even though his English isn't there, people still like him just because he's such a violent guy. And the thing about MMA is, like, it's very rare. There's 2 things that really stick out. Timing is everything. Kevin Holland is like a perfect example of that. And then there's like getting a signature win. That helps too. It's very rare that they both come together at the exact same time, especially to the level of what Charles Oliveira did tonight. That happened. And it doesn't matter. Like, at this point, you can know all you need to know. Charles Oliveira, I'm not going to say he's a star, but he took a giant step towards getting there. And a lot of people want to see what he's going to do next.
Well, listen, all the UFC has to do is sit down with him for like 15 minutes and interview him one-on-one, because I don't know if you guys saw his post-fight interview or were watching and saw the press conference. This man talks fast. All right. I don't speak Portuguese, but I don't need to speak Portuguese to know that this man, I called him the microphones guy on Twitch, by the reference. Almost nobody will get it because we're of a certain vintage, let's put it that way. But yes, pretty much to say he speaks really fast. I was amazed, and the translator, bless his heart, I think did his best. I think we'll have to agree later and maybe a full translation of some of whatever it was that Oliveira was saying tonight, because there you go, Casey. There's one thing I know, it's he's a fast talker. So
Cody Garbrandt tweeted after the fight, "Hey Henry Cejudo, looks like it's us March 6th. Pick the weight class." I thought sure. AK had a very interesting take tonight. The biggest loser of the night tonight was Cody Garbrandt.
Who said that? Me?
Didn't you say that?
I don't think so.
You didn't tweet that out?
I may have retweeted
I thought
it. It wasn't me.
Sure, that was you. Somebody said that.
I'll take credit for it.
Yeah,
it's
true.
I'll take credit for it.
I forgot about Cody Garbrandt actually tonight. I forgot about him. I just.
That's the problem. That's why he's the biggest loser of the night, because it seems academic that he's going to be fighting for the belt as soon as he comes back. I think we laid it out perfectly earlier. The way you do it is you run it back with Figueiredo Moreno. Garbrandt v. Cape is the fight to make. Number 1 contender. That's it.
Cape, or as Cape calls him, Cody Garbage. Cody Garbage. Unbelievable. Oof.
One of my favorite moments.
What a burn.
Let's go. Let's go for like 5 more minutes. How about that?
Yeah.
Let's run like do like 1 or 2 more questions.
Give it your best.
All right. Got that. La, 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 la. Oh, I can't answer that. Find a question, Casey. Find a question.
And believe me, there's so much still to talk about.
I gotta go backwards.
Yeah, and look,
So
people are
much
going to get a lot of. I mean, Mike, we're gonna do maybe one of our longest episodes of On to the Next one ever. I think with all these matches we're gonna do. So people are gonna be getting a lot more of us. But yeah, we got some here.
Rapid fire.
Tisha Torres versus Sam Hughes. Will Dana think Sam quit and not get a second outing in the cage? Took it on 3 days notice, to be honest. If
Is she gonna get the Max? What's the other guy? He never got a fight again. Max, what's his name? The guy who quit.
Max Rothkopf.
Rothkopf, that's true.
Is he gonna get this treatment? Because
I have
Sam
a feeling
said,
with Rothkopf,
I can't see. She said the truth.
Rothkopf, for one thing, was that not Mike? Was that not a mutual parting of ways? Wasn't there some sort of understanding between them? I don't know. I could be making that up.
I think he was shared released.
That incident was definitely a lot more controversial. Remember, Rothkopf wasn't just like, I can't see her today. It was like, I don't want to do this. I can't go on. I'm done. Multiple times saying I'm done. It's just made for a really bad clip, I think, for the UFC. That's probably one of the reasons for it. The optics were really bad. Maybe his team could have handled the situation better. And Dana White and whoever it is at the UFC that makes these decisions, they're aware of all these things. They saw what we saw, and they're aware of all these things. This wasn't quite as bad. Cormier kind of was a little bit harsh on her, kind of saying like that. Kind of saying like, oh, she was looking for a way out. That's why she said she couldn't see, and then she tried to kind of backtrack once the round was about to begin and kind of asking her, do you want to go on? She's like, no, don't stop it. I think she was just being honest. I think she was just saying she couldn't see. He was saying she should have known better, but she was just being honest. She's in the moment. She can't see. She's probably a little panicked about it. I mean, that's a scary thing. And just said what she was asked. Can you see? And should she have known the fight was going to be stopped? Maybe she's probably seeing the fights, but I don't think that's the first thing that was on her mind.
I saw a few fighters, and usually, I respect their opinions, and they were kind of crapping on Hughes too a little bit, just because you were just taught to lie, like, and that's fighting is lying. You get punched hard in the face, act like it does not hurt. That's what. So, sorry, we're supposed to do rapid fire. I'm sorry, we're going in.
It's okay. We'll just say that that fight was not going anywhere good for Sam Hughes. So
no.
Her corner, when her corner looked at eye, her corner should have saved her right. I don't want to blame the corner. I mean, I don't know these people, but she was getting her ass handed to her by Tisha Torres, and it was going to go downhill real fast at the beginning of the second round. Much like for that Max kid, if he would have came out for that round, he would have got demolished. And I felt the same way for Sam. So,
and I'm sure people are gonna say, "Oh, it's not like Tisha's gonna throw." Tisha's doesn't have a big knockout power. It's not like she's gonna. Yeah, no. I mean, the fight might have gone the distance, but I'm gonna tell you something. During that time, Sam Hughes was probably taking about 50 hard punches to the head. Yeah. So knockout or not, trust me, I'm not a doctor, guys, but that's not good for you. It's not good for you.
Yeah, I think she gets another shot. Why is Dana trashing next week's card? Thompson versus Neal. It's a great card, but it's like this is the card that doesn't end. Has 15 fights, 8 on the prelims, 7 fight man card. I don't think he was. I just think the fact that Chimaev isn't on the card anymore, Dana lost interest.
What did he say? I missed it. What did he say? I missed kind of that comment about the card.
Dana said. Dana basically said like, I'm going on vacation tomorrow. I'll see you guys next year. So I guess he's not going to be there.
Like, the promoter did zero promoting for what maybe is actually on paper the best fight night of the year.
Sure.
So the promoter did not promote. So I think that's the sense of trashing.
Dana tells it like it is, bro. He tells it like it is. Stop hating. Stop hating on the boss.
We'll have some fun with that one. Sure.
Doesn't all those fighting next week? Michelle Perez fighting next week. Oh my, Marlon Moraes.
It's Chaos Williams.
Oh, what a
He's
card!
I'm super excited about next week's card. Actually,
You should be. It's a good card.
I'm very excited, and it's missing that one amazing non-title main event, but this is an excellent replacement. Actually,
it's a really good fight. Thompson versus Neal is fascinating. All right, we'll do one more, Casey.
Take us home.
Best one.
Oh.
This is a good question.
Yes.
That's a fair question. I think the intention behind it's probably a little mean, but it's a fair question.
I've been in many growing up in the Boston area. That was the thing. Yeah, I have. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
That was great. You guys don't want to know how those fights ended for the other guy. Let's put it that way. Mike cannot legally say what happened to those fights. That was so like. You guys know where I come from. Mind your business.
Mind your business.
Listen, I got a 7-year-old. I know I'm going back and watching clips of like dad talking about his old street fights back when he was younger and a young whippersnapper. But
yeah.
But yeah, there you go. Anybody else want to chime in before we say goodbye? I think we've gone.
Honestly, I've trained a little bit, but a real fight, I think I've been lucky enough to say I've never been in a real fight. People can probably tell that by looking at me. And if that was your assumption, you are correct. I don't think I've ever. I think I would know if I would remember if I had been. No.
That does not surprise me, AK.
I'm a pacifist.
Only because you're such a nice guy. Who the hell would want to fight you?
Right. I'm lovable.
Casey, I know you've been in like a billion, right?
When I think of real fight, I think real fight. Like you, me, we're meeting at a certain time at a certain location. To me, that's a real fight. Now, have I been in kerfluffles? Yes, I've been in some kerfluffles. Yeah, where just all of a sudden, have I been in a fight where at some point where there was no drinks in hand? No, I mean I don't know. I've been in some
kerfluffles, yes. Meet at the pine trees at 3:30. No,
not yet. Night's still young. 20. We still got a few more days for 2020.
I hope my fighting career is like way over at this point. For God's sakes, like don't need to be doing that. All right, we're getting out of here. I think we're at like the 75-minute mark. Holy shit! What a night this has been, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting out of here.
Great show.
Of course, me and AK.
Dude, this card ruled. This card freaking ruled.
Absolutely.
AK and I will be back with on to the next one. Then we got Between the Links, A-Side, what the heck. I mean, we just get so much stuff before we head into the final card of the year next weekend. So for AK, for Casey, I am Mike Heck. Good night, everybody.
This is how people fight, right? This is what it looks like when you fight.
Fight.